Okay, let's go ahead and get started here with this with chapter 8 on Hebrew pronouns. This is going to be a two-session chapter here since we are dealing with quite a bit of information here. Last chapter we dealt with was Hebrew adjectives. This session will be Hebrew pronouns. Just want to introduce you that what a pronoun is. A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun. The noun that a pronoun refers back to is called the antecedent. Um, Stated differently, the antecedent of pronoun is the word or words for which the pronoun stands. An example of that is when Moses was 120 years old when he died. The word he is a pronoun that refers back to Moses. That's what we mean by antecedent. In Hebrew, there are personal pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, relative and interrogative pronouns. And Hebrew pronouns function much like their English counterparts. And what we're going to do is go through the different types of pronouns. And the first big section is what we call independent personal pronouns. In Hebrew, the independent personal pronoun is labeled independent because it stands alone and is not prefixed or suffixed to another word. Personal pronouns can be first, second, or third person, either singular or plural. The first person pronouns refer to the person speaking, like I and we. The second person pronouns refer to the person being spoken to, you. And the third person pronoun refers to the person or thing spoken of, like, for example, he, she, it, or they. Now, the second and third person pronouns have both masculine and feminine forms. First person pronouns, however, are common, meaning they may refer either to a masculine or feminine noun, and they're not inflected for the gender, as with the other persons. In Hebrew, the independent personal pronouns are subjective, meaning that they are used as a subject of a verb and never as the object of the verb. So they're actually the pronoun which is the subject of the verb. Personal pronouns may also appear as the subject of a verbless clause, and for this reason they're sometimes called subject pronouns. The Hebrew independent personal pronouns are listed above. And let's look at some of these the personal pronouns in the Hebrew here in this paradigm chart here. Um, okay, so and on a couple of these, now when we talk about first, we're talking about I, and we're talking about second, we're talking about you, singular, or you, and then third, we're talking about he or she, or in case it, in here. We have both singular and plural. Um, in the first person, common, which doesn't refer to any gender, it can be both male or female. The personal pronoun, we have two types here in the singular that are attested to. That means they are found within the scriptures. One is ani. Here we have ani, or anochi. Anochi. And they both mean the same thing, I, but there's just two different forms that are found within the biblical text. The second person, masculine, is ata. And we're very familiar with this particular personal pronoun because we do it in the blessings. Baruch ata Adonai. And so it's blessed be you. And so ata is the masculine singular. And what's a little different here is you have the common say, and you may want to think that's feminine, but actually in this case, it's actually the masculine part here. So don't let that trip you up. And in the feminine singular, we have at with a patak and a non-vocal shiva right here. It's kind of like a glottal stop. It stops that syllable there. So we have ata for masculine singular and at for feminine singular, if it's referring to a feminine noun. The third person, which is the he, she, or it, we have who is he, and this is easy to remember. Who is he, and he here is she. Who is he? he is she. I learned that years ago in college, so it was very easy to remember that in there. So basically, and in the third feminine singular, you have two forms, an alternate form. You have he, the major one, with a hey, a heric yod, and an aleph. And then we have he is an alternate form, a hey, a heric, and a vav, and an aleph. They both mean the same thing. They're just two different forms of the same personal pronoun. Now, when we get to the plural, first common plural, we have anachnu. This is used quite often in the Hebrew text. Anachnu, we. In the second masculine, we have atem, atem, and this will be characteristic. Look for that mem suffix, that final mem. That's usually an indicator that that's masculine. And atem is you, plural, you all, masculine. Atena, atena is you, feminine, plural. And then when we get down to the third masculine, we have two forms. We have haim, again you have that mem there, and you have hema here. And then haim is more. This form is used more than hema in the biblical text. Just like we have in the third feminine, hain, that noon is a good indicator of the feminine, and hena or hena is another alternate form. Again, hain is more likely, more frequent, and haim is more frequent than the alternate forms. So it's just basically, and you'll see this the mem ending and the noon ending as being indicative of masculine. Mem being masculine, noon being feminine. Now what we want to go into is we want to go into the use of the independent personal pronouns here, okay? The independent personal pronouns and their translations should be memorized as vocabulary. And what we're going to do is the Hebrew personal pronouns often occur in conjunction with verbs. They also may be used as a predicative relationship with nouns or adjectives in a verbless clause. You remember we had last chapter, we had in the adjectives, we had the three different uses of the adjective. We had the attributive, and then we had the predicative, and then we had the substantival use of the adjective. Well, this way, this pronoun, this personal pronoun, is being used a lot of times in verbless clauses as a predicative relationship, meaning it is stating something about a noun. It's not attributing to it, but it's stating a character or stating an idea about a noun. So here we have in this first example, we have Ani Adonai. That is saying I am Yod He Vav He. I am the Lord. That's stating that the personal pronoun I am the Lord in there. In the second example, we have Hu Navi Sadiq. He is a righteous prophet. Sadiq modifies Navi. Sadiq is the adjective. It's a attributive adjective with a agrees in gender and number and indefiniteness with Navi. And then who is the personal pronoun? He is a righteous prophet. Okay, the third one here we have is Ata Melech Tov. Okay, Ata is you, a masculine singular, are a good king. It's just stating a quality about the king, that he is a good king. Tov is an attributive adjective. It's saying what type of king. And you is just being used as a personal pronoun here. Achim, anachnu. That just says that the pronoun in English literally says brothers are we. In correct English, we would say we are brothers. Achim, anachnu. Okay, we have he, isha, hachama. He isha chachama. Okay, here we have he is she. Remember, he is she is a personal pronoun. Isha chachama. She, and we got to put the to be verb, is a wise woman. Chachama, agree, is an adjective. It agrees with isha in gender, number, and in indefiniteness. So this is an attributive use of the adjective. Okay, she is a wise woman. The next one we have is atem ba'ir hagedolah. Atem is second masculine plural, and that means you or you all. And then we put the V verb are, and then ba'ir is in the city, and then we hagedolah in the great city. So you are in the great city. Hagedolah is an attributive use of the adjective. It agrees with ba'ir in gender, number, and definiteness. In this case here, it's definite. In terms of normal word order in a verbose clause, the independent personal pronoun may precede or follow the noun or adjective. As with the predicative use of the adjective, a form of the verb to be in the present tense must be supplied. So this is pretty similar to when we have a predicative adjective. Remember, the predicative adjective agrees with the noun and it modifies in gender, number, but not in definiteness. It never has a definite article. And this usually the personal pronoun, in this case, usually comes before. But it can come afterwards also, but mainly it comes before. And a lot of times with verbs, it'll come with a verb also to be supplied to show emphasis. I myself will write. So it's showing emphasis a lot of times when it's with a finite verb. Now let's go ahead and go into demonstrative pronouns and adjectives. The English demonstratives are this, these, that, and those. This and these are more specific, and that and those are less specific. That means they're further away. They may be used either as adjectives, this man, or those women, or as pronouns. This is the man, or those are the women. It would almost be like this one is the man, or those ones, or those people are the women. Demonstratives increase the level of a word's specificity beyond that of a definite article. So you could say the book, which is more specific than a book, but when you say this book, it's more specific than the book. So the reference increases from a man to this man. So Hebrew demonstratives function like English demonstratives in that they bring forth a greater amount of specificity to it right there. All right, let's go ahead and look at the paradigm for demonstrative pronouns here. All right, we have ze for masculine singular. Remember, these are all broken up here. You got masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. So you got ze for this, zot, ze for this is masculine, and ele is masculine plural. So you'd have a noun that is masculine plural. Evanim, you would say ele evanim, these stones, or ele anashim, these men. That's what they would refer to right here. Ze is singular. It was this one, or this book, or this house. We have also for demonstrative pronoun, for this is feminine, singular is zot. And same thing, we have ele for the feminine plural, ele. So ele is both masculine and feminine plural. So that's a nice thing to know. You don't have to memorize anything else. Right? But you got ze and zot for this. And then when you get into that, Who, we've learned who is he, it's a personal pronoun, but also who is a demonstrative pronoun also. It can mean that. Many times we have in the Hebrew, Bayom Hahu, on that day. You see a prophecy saying, and on that day, such and such stuff will happen. So that's very common in the Hebrew scriptures. But who is used as a demonstrative pronoun also. Now the masculine plural is haim or hema. Pretty much the same that we saw with the personal pronouns in there. And so for those here, so we got haim or hema used as a demonstrative pronoun. We have he, which is again just like the personal pronoun of she, but this is a demonstrative pronoun, that. And you'll be able to tell the difference between whether it's a demonstrative pronoun or whether it is a personal pronoun. And we'll get into that in a little bit. We also have the feminine plural of hain and haina. Pretty much the same. These are all the same also as with the personal pronouns, also with the demonstrative pronouns. Now the masculine and feminine singular forms of who and he are identical to the third person masculine and feminine independent personal pronouns. Like I said, in most instances where ambiguity exists, the larger context of the sentence will enable you to make the correct choice. Now let's look at some examples here, okay? Note that the ambiguity in the following examples. Okay, we got hu ha'ish. He is the man. Okay, who is being used as a personal pronoun here. He is the man. Well, it also could be that is the man. So it could be either one. It could be used as a demonstrative pronoun for he is the man, or that is the man as a demonstrative pronoun. Same thing with he, Haisha. He could be used as a personal pronoun for she, or it could be used as a demonstrative pronoun as that. That is the woman. Also, we have in number 2 here the demonstrative pronoun ele is both masculine and feminine plural. Remember that the designation for this phenomenon is common, meaning not inflected for gender. So it's not it's not really concerned with the gender in this situation here. It basically incorporates both the masculine and feminine. In other words, this common form can modify either masculine or feminine nouns. Now, there are a few variant or alternative forms of some of the demonstratives. And these forms should not be memorized because they're so infrequent. I wouldn't even worry about this. Main thing we're going to memorize is ze, zot, and ele of the demonstratives right here in this. And just gives you some examples of them, but I wouldn't worry about ze, zot, and ele. And these are going to be your most common uses. Ze, zot, and ele. These three are going to be the most frequently used of all the demonstrative pronouns here. Now let's go into some uses of the demonstrative pronoun here. Hebrew demonstratives may be used either as adjectives like this man or those women, or as pronouns, this is the man or those are the women. Pretty much like what the adjectives were. Remember we had the attributive adjectives. The attributive adjective said basically agreed with the noun it modifies in gender, number, and definiteness, whereas a predicative adjective agreed with the noun it modified in gender and number only, without the definite article. And somewhat the same thing when we use these demonstrative adjectives. They follow exactly like the attributive adjective. When a Hebrew demonstrative is functioning as an adjective, it will follow the noun it modifies and agree in gender, number, and definiteness. And like I said, this is just like the attributive adjective use of the adjectives that we explained in chapter 7. And here's some following examples of the use of a demonstrative adjective. We have ha'ish hazeh. You got the ha-ish, the woman, the man, and then ha-zeh, this. You see that zeh is the demonstrative adjective and it agrees in gender and number with ish, and it has a definite article just like ha-ish, ha-zeh. So it agrees in gender, number, and definiteness with the noun that it's modifying. This man, ha-ish, ha-zeh. When we go to the feminine, we have ha-isha, ha-zot, this woman. Ha-zot agrees with ha-ish in gender, number, and the definite article. We go to that man, we're going to go more least specific. We go to ha-ish, ha-hu, that man. And so the demonstrative agrees here, ha-hu agrees with ha-ish in gender, number, and the definite article. That woman, ha-isha, ha-he. Ha-he is the demonstrative adjective that agrees with the noun in gender, number, and definite article. Ha-anashim, ha-ele, these men. Ha-ele is again, these. It's masculine plural with the definite article. This agrees with the noun in gender, number, and definite article. Ha-nashim, ha-ele. Remember, ha-ele both is masculine or feminine. It agrees, this demonstrative agrees with ha-nashim in gender, number, and definiteness. Ha-nashim, ha-hem is those men. Ha-hem is the demonstrative that, indefinite demonstrative that agrees with the noun in gender, number, and indefiniteness here. And then we have Hanashim Hahena or Hanashim Hahena. This is the feminine plural indefinite demonstrative pronoun. It agrees with the noun it modifies in gender, number, and indefiniteness. So in each of these examples, be certain that you understand the agreement between the noun and the demonstrative adjective in the categories of gender, number, and definiteness. Note that the demonstrative follows the noun in every instance. You should also note that when the attributive adjective is introduced, it is placed between the noun and the demonstrative adjective, and it must also agree in gender, number, and definiteness. And here's some examples of this here. Alright, we're going to go here. Ha-ish, ha-tov, ha-zeh. We have ha-ish, which is the noun, the man, ha-tov, good, ha-zeh, this. So what we translate here is this good man. Ha-tov is an attributive adjective agreeing with ha-ish in gender and number and definiteness, and you see how it's placed in between the demonstrative adjective and the noun here. Same thing with ha-isha, ha-tova, ha-zot. This good woman. We have the noun here, ha-isha. We have the attributive adjective, ha-tova, in between the noun and the demonstrative adjective, ha-zot. Ha-ish, ha-tov, ha-hu. The man, the good, that good man. We have ha-tov, which is an attributive adjective in between the noun and the demonstrative adjective here. So it's going to be noun, attributive adjective, and then demonstrative adjective in that order. We have ha-isha, ha-tova, ha-he. Here's the noun, ha-isha, the woman. Ha-tova, good, because it's attributed to the good woman. And ha-he, that good woman. That good woman. Ha-he, the demonstrative adjective. Ha-anashim, ha-tovim, ha-ele. This is the men, the good, attributive adjective of ha-tovim, agrees with ha-nashim in gender, number, and definiteness. and which is the attributive adjective, and then ha'ela is the demonstrative adjective coming after agree in gender, number, and definiteness. So as we go down through here, we see that the examples that that in word order, the noun comes first. If there is an attributive adjective, it comes second, and then if there's a demonstrative adjective, will come after the attributive adjective. So we see how the attributive adjective, like the demonstrative adjective, like the attributive adjective, agrees with the noun in gender, number, and definiteness. Now let's go to the demonstrative pronoun, which is a lot like the predicative adjective in form. When a Hebrew demonstrative is functioning as a pronoun, it will precede the noun and agree in gender, number, but not in definiteness. Again, it won't have a definite article, just like the predicate adjective. It doesn't have the definite article in there. So let's look at some examples. This one, or this is the man. Ze ha'ish normally comes first, and then the noun comes second. It agrees with ha'ish in gender and number, but not in definiteness. This is the man. Okay, zot ha'isha. This is the woman. Zot agrees with ha'isha in gender and number, but not in definiteness. Likewise, hu ha'ish. Who is that? That is the man. Who agrees in gender and number with ha'ish, but not in definiteness. So it's just like the predicate adjective in its position and without the definite article. It agrees in gender number and not in definite article. So we have some more examples here in this part. So we have he ha'isha, that is the woman. Ele ha'anashim, these are the men. Ele hanashim, these are the women. Remember, we have to put in our to be verb in here. This is we had to add that in for English purposes. Haim ha'anashim, those are the men. And Hena hanashim, those are the women. So these demonstrative pronouns agree with the noun they're modifying in gender and number, but not in definiteness. And so they have to agree with that noun in gender and number, but they do not have the definite article. Now, when an attributive adjective is introduced, it's placed after the noun it modifies. It will agree in gender, number, and definiteness with the noun that's modifying. So we can we'll put a attributive adjective coming behind the noun here to give an attributive adjective to the noun, and then the demonstrative pronoun will come at the very beginning. And here's some examples. Ze ha'ish hatov. Ze is this one, is, we have to put is, ha'ish hatov, the good man. This is the good man. And one of the keys is to notice that it will normally come at the very beginning, and it will not have a definite article on it. That's how you know it's a demonstrative pronoun. Same way with Ela, ha'anashim hatovim. Ela agrees with ha'anashim in gender and number, but not in definiteness. And we have the attributive adjective again coming after the noun, so that's nothing new. We've learned that in our adjectives. That's all the same. Again, the key to look for is the demonstrative pronoun. When it is a demonstrative pronoun, it will come at the very beginning, just like the predicate adjective or predicative adjective, and it will agree with the noun in gender and number, but will not have a definite article. Alright, I know we're introducing a lot of information here, but what we can do, if you need to, you can go through it a couple times, look at it. 8.8, we're going to have what they call the relative pronoun. And as I've mentioned before to most of my students throughout the years, and when you learn another language, um, you're actually getting two languages for the price of one. You're not only learning Hebrew, but you're learning your English grammar also. You know, and I was highly deficient in English grammar uh, before I went to college, and so when taking a language, it forced me to learn my English grammar and syntax in there, and so you're actually learning your parts of speech in English if you're not already strong in that area. The major relative pronouns in English are who, whom, whose, and that, and which. A relative pronoun introduces a relative clause that modifies a noun. So a relative clause is composed of the relative pronoun and the clause that it introduces. So in the sentence, happy is the person who studies Hebrew, the clause who studies Hebrew is a relative clause modifying the noun person. And so in Hebrew, the word asher functions as the relative pronoun. The form of this word never changes. In other words, it does not inflect to indicate the gender or number of its antecedents. That's a good thing. Don't have to worry about that. The relative pronoun asher may either appear with or without a makef. Of course, we talked about that makef is that little horizontal line that connects one particle to or one noun to another noun. You'll even notice that asher functions as a relative pronoun introducing a relative clause, and it immediately follows the noun that's modifying. And here's some examples here as we go through here um, for the relative pronoun asher. Ha'etz asher betoch hagan. The tree that is, or which is, in the midst or the middle, betoch hagan, of the garden. The tree is the subject, or is the noun, which is, and then asher is the relative pronoun tying the tree and a clause about the tree, which is in the midst of the garden. Heharim asher tachat hashemayim. The mountains that are, which are under the heavens. The mountains which are under the heavens, or that are under the heavens. Either one would be fine. You see the noun here, then the relative clause, the relative pronoun asher is connecting heharim, the mountains, and describing which ones they are that are under the heaven with that phrase there. Hamelech asher bechartim. The king whom you chose. Of course, you don't know what this is. This is a verb here, but this whom you chose. So the king whom you chose. The asher is a relative pronoun connecting the subject or this noun here with this verb, whom you chose. Okay, so let's go a couple more examples here of a relative pronoun. David asher bevet Adonai. David asher bevet Adonai. David, who, and then we got to put the to be verb is in the house of the Lord. David asher bevet Adonai. David, who is in the house of the Lord. So that's asher is connecting. It's like a bridge. The relative pronoun connecting David, the noun, and then it begins the clause, the relative, what we call relative clause. It relates David to being in the house of the Lord here. Now the next type of pronoun we want to go through after the relative pronouns is we want to go into the interrogative pronouns. And interrogative pronouns are used to ask a question. In Hebrew, the main interrogative pronouns are me, which means who, or ma, which means what. These pronouns do not inflect and can appear with or without a makif here. And so the vocalization of me does not change. The vocalization of ma, however, may slightly change. It may shorten down to a patak or sagol or from a comets, but they pretty much are the same. And when spelled as ma with a mem, a patak, and hey, a dagesh forte will usually appear in the first consonant of the following word, unless the consonant's a guttural. So it's not really essential that you know that, but just go after some individuals' usages of it here. Here's some examples to show how these interrogative pronouns are used. Ma shemo, what is his name? This is a noun with a pronominal suffix onto it. We haven't gotten to that yet, but what is his name? Me asita, me asita, what have you done? Ma ha chalom hazeh, what is this dream? Mi ata, who are you? Or you could say mi at for a feminine person. You, who are you? Feminine. Mi ata, okay. We have mi ha'ish hazeh. Who is this man? So you see the makef. You got the mi with the makef here. You got the ma without a makef. So it can be with or without a makef. And you got mi ha-nashim ha'ele. Who are these men? So you got the interrogative pronouns of ma and me that can ask either who. Me is who is me, and ma is what or whom. In there. So, all right, let's go into the interrogative particle with the hey. The interrogative particle hey. In addition to the interrogative pronouns above, Hebrew also has what they call an interrogative particle. In Hebrew, questions are not created with punctuation like they are in English. Rather, interrogative clauses, those that ask a question, are created with the use of a certain interrogative pronoun or with the form of the particle hey with a hatef patak up under it, prefixed to the first word of the sentence. Let's consider some examples here. We have Shalach HaMelech et Hanavi. The king sent the prophet. Now, if we want to ask a question, instead of making a statement, the king sent the prophet is a statement. But if we want to ask a question, or what they call an interrogative, we put the hey with the vocal, the hatef patak, and it's attached normally to the verb. So you would say, did the king send the prophet? Heshalach HaMelech et Hanavi. And so the first example, as we said before here, the king sent the prophet, is a statement. The second is a question. So in the second example, the sentence begins with the verb to which the interrogative particle has been fixed. The question has been created by the prefixing of the interrogative particle. So the spelling of this particle will change depending on the spelling of the form to which it's prefixed, and the rules are quite simple for this interrogative particle here. When it's prefixed to most consonants, it is a hey with a hatef patak, as we saw above. When it is prefixed to a guttural or any consonant with a shava, it is normally ha. Okay? And then when it is prefixed to a guttural consonant followed by comets, the spelling of the particle is a hey with a sagol. Now there is a possibility of confusing the interrogative particle with the definite article, and to avoid confusion it will be helpful to remember the following clues here. The interrogative particle normally doesn't have and associated Dogish forte as does the definite article. So you won't have a Dogish forte in there. With some frequency, the interrogative particle will be prefixed to a verbal form or another particle. Verbs and particles, of course, will not take the definite article. And the hatif patak of the interrogative particle, as it appears with most consonants, is not one of the spellings of the definite article. So that's basically not having a Dogish forte, not being a hatif patak, a definite article doesn't have a hatif patak under the hay. So that tells you basically that that knocks out the possibilities of it being a definite article. So yeah, again, as we said, normally you'll see it most of the time with a hatif patak attached to the verb or word that's attached to here, mainly verbs, and usually if it is prefixed to a guttural consonant or any consonant with a shava, it will be a hay with a patak. Um, and that's the only place where there may be some confusion here because we remember under the definite articles you had the virtual doubling where the patak did not lengthen and there was no dagesh forte in the gutter because it rejected it. It couldn't accept it. So that's about the only one I see that you would have any chance of. But basically, context again is going to help show you which one makes the sense. But for most cases, just look for the hay with the hatif patak there. That will be most likely your situation here in there. So just go through chapter 8, go through the personal pronouns, the demonstrative pronouns, the relative pronoun of asher, the interrogative pronoun of me or ma, and also the interrogative particle hey there. And just go through your homework. Be sure to go through the homework and work with it. And again, remember the grammar book gives you the knowledge, the workbook gives you the understanding here, okay? All right, until next session, we'll meet back and go over the homework. Shalom, okay?